Hello there, my name is John and I am a nobody. We're off today on our journey to an unexpected place. I went there so you don't have to, and I hope you never do have to. It's the men's ward on a psychiatric unit. So it's not a place I would wish you to end up. I was booked on the agency I was working for as an HCA to go to this hospital with a colleague. We were on a 2-to-1. Now, if you're on a 1-to-1, it means you have to supervise a patient and you have to keep your eyes on them the whole time. But if you're on a 2-to-1, it's the same, but alarm bells start ringing because a 2-to-1 normally means the possibility of violence. Now, the hospital don't use their own staff. They'd rather have people from the agency, because if something happens to somebody from an agency, well, tough, you know. If something happens to a member of staff from the hospital, they might get laid off or seek compensation or something. So they asked us to come up, and we did. We drove up to the hospital, and the first thing that we saw was one of the windows for the unit had been obviously smashed out and boarded over with plywood, which was perhaps not a good sign. And we went in onto the unit, and we were told a little bit about the man we were supposed to be supervising. The day before, he had attacked an African nurse, male nurse, and hit him, and he'd broken his jaw. So we both sat somewhat nervously outside. All we had was a radio and keys, and waited. We could hear the man in his room. He was walking around, and he finally, stormed out of his room. And then the first thing he wanted was to have a smoke. So I took him outside, or we took him outside, unlocked the first security door, unlocked the second security door, and then we got outside, though it's not really outside because it's like a cage. So we were under, we were outside, but it was completely surrounded. The area was by wire, like a fence on either side. And above, there was a wire roof. So there was one seat in the corner, which my colleague immediately took. The only other seat was a wooden bench. So knowing that the best form of a defense is attack, I sat down on the wooden bench next to the gentleman we were looking after. He was a very muscular black guy, but not huge. He was about my size, and I was not allowed to give patients or residents a cigarette. So I said to him, I used my usual trick. I said, look, I'll just roll a cigarette and leave it on the bench for you to find, which worked out fine. So he was already a little bit maybe on my side because, yeah, I'd given him something for nothing. So we sat outside and I started to talk to him and to engage him with themes. The thing is with this kind of work is you have to be careful not to trigger people. So I think he appreciated the fact that I spoke to him honestly. And we were talking about this, that and the other. His problem became more than apparent to me, very briefly but obviously. He was addicted to everything really. So he liked to engage in all kinds of substances, so substance abuse, but he was also addicted to, looking for a polite word, pornography. So he was addicted to that as well. Now the problem was he was a devout, according to him, he was a devout Muslim. So you could almost see the problems that he had in his brain. He had the two halves of his brain fighting over what he was. Was he this religious person, or was he this pervert? And that's where the problem set in. So I was chatting with him, and then when it was time for me to go for my break, which I did, I was quite pleased with myself because everything, had been going well. I hadn't been attacked. And I was rolling a cigarette outside when I noticed that my hands were trembling. My hands were shaking because this was actually a dangerous man. He'd been investigated by the security services already. They hadn't found anything. But this was not the kind of person you wanted to mess with. Anyway, I went back to my job. Everything went well. He actually gave me his hand on more than one occasion to shake as a sign of respect or whatever, I don't know. And everything went beautifully. And then I got home after the long shift, which is a great job, but you can earn the same money tossing hamburgers. I got home to my wonderful wife and told her about my day. And at the end of it, I broke down in tears, started to cry and sob because I didn't realize at the time, but it had taken a huge emotional toll on me. This chatting away with somebody, trying to help him, but knowing one false move and you could get your jaw broken, was just awful. So I take my hat off to anybody who works in social care, because it is a rewarding job, but it's not the easiest job in the world. So I hope you gained a little insight, and I'm sure we'll be back another time to this hospital onto another unit. But until then, take care and have a lovely Christmas. And I'll see you in the next one. So, Tchaikovsky, and all the best. Bye for now.